Welcome back into 365 Sports from Front Office Sports. David Rumsey joins us now. And David, caught your article today on the Apple's ambitions when it comes to live sports rights, and we've talked about it probably every day for quite a long time about the Pac-12 and what they're doing. When you read these comments from Eddie Q, what did you come away thinking about their overall goal when it comes to live sports and when it comes to particularly college sports and an entity like the Pac-12?
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. I think they're interested, Apple, in professional sports, in collegiate sports, any live rights that they can get their hands on. But the caveat is, in my mind, that they don't want just some small package. They don't want to have Amazon's Thursday Night Football. They want to have everything, right? So the article I wrote was about Premier League rights and how the Premier League was wanting to sell a package of games to Apple, and they're not really interested. They have all the rights worldwide to MLS soccer games, right? So I think if you're looking at other properties that they might be interested in, I think they want maximum reach. So it's going to be interesting to see if a conference like the Pac-12 would be willing to hand over basically the entire ship to a streamer like Apple.
One of the direct quotes there was, "This isn't, hey, I've got an opening from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. tonight. I'm going to put this game on." There's obviously been a lot of talk about that late night window, and perhaps, part of the package could be Apple swooping and getting that. But based on what you just said, I guess that would have to entail them buying the whole package, maybe running that game, and then subleasing, other games out to other entities probably, but still maintaining the full control would be ideal for them.
Yeah, and I don't know if they would be interested in, leasing out those games to an ESPN or Fox, who I think everybody knows loves having those late night, Saturday night Pac-12 matchups to fill those TV windows for college football sickos around the country that want to watch football from 11 a.m. to, 1 a.m. basically. So it's going to be interesting to see because, if you're kind of trading off some things with Apple, right? They might pay you the most money, more money than Fox or ESPN are going to pay you. But less people are going to watch your games because, frankly, not as many people have Apple TV Plus or a subscription to that, which is probably what's going to be required to watch Pac-12 games if it goes to Apple. So it's a trade-off, right? More money on the front, but then less exposure. So, how does that play out long-term? And that's what the conference has to decide.
David, how do you think long-term that their goals are? Like there is some struggle right now when it comes to the Major League Baseball rights and all that. Do you think that they'll get in on that? They tried to get all the NFL. They've got one day of baseball right now. And how does that reflect on what they maybe do with college sports?
Yeah, I think the baseball, the MLB deals are an interesting test, right? There wasn't necessarily a huge amount of MLB rights available when they came in for that. And I think they just kind of wanted to get their feet wet, see what it was like to broadcast games. And some people like them, some people don't. It's kind of been a mixed bag of results. From my understanding, they were really into getting that NFL Sunday ticket package, but it didn't work out because they wanted to have it come to Apple TV Plus, and they didn't really want to charge much more for it, right? How before it was on DirecTV, and you had to pay so much money to get DirecTV and an extra fee to get NFL Sunday ticket. That's kind of the way it is on YouTube TV now. But they want to just give it out to subscribers, to drive subscriptions for Apple TV. And the NFL said, no way. We want this to be a premium product. And that's kind of getting into the weeds about protecting their other big media partners and ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC. So Apple has a really unique strategy. And I think they're still really early in figuring out how they want to attack live sports.
David, when you hear about the ESPN cuts, those are brought up quite a bit as a sign that the industry is in some sort of trouble. But then you have Apple who's going, hey, we got an open wallet and no end in sight as far as that goes. Just what do you kind of make of the ecosystem right now in the media landscape? Is it one where you feel like people are pinching, or is it like in the case of Apple where it's just going a different direction than maybe it has in years past?
I think everybody from traditional media companies, sports networks, streamers are really clinging to live sports because that is one of the remaining products that will get people to sit down in front of a screen and watch something given time. And then there's breaks and you can sell ads. And that's the best way for these media companies to make money, frankly. So yeah, I look at Apple, and like I said, they're figuring out their live sports strategy, but they certainly have a lot more money to spend than maybe a Disney or who owns ESPN. But I think they've proven they're not going to be frivolous with it, right? They're not just going to buy up everything because they can. They want to be, diligent and do their deals, but they're coming, and they can be aggressive for a lot of these packages if they want to.
So do you think that his comments are overall good news for the Pac-12?
I really don't know, because if you're reading, the message boards, the rumor mills, I think there's some real trepidation from the Pac-12 presidents who are eventually going to be able to sign off on whatever these next media rights deals are. And, a lot of these guys come from a different time. They're older. They're worried about giving their rights over to a streamer. And I don't blame them. I mean, it's kind of scary to not have your games on network TV, or much less, cable TV even. You got to go find it on the smart TV or on your phone. So I think the Pac-12 desperately wants some cash from Apple, but if they had it their way, they would get a big sum of money for a portion of games and then still be able to work with their ESPN, with their Fox, and, have some maximum reach. And I just don't know if they're going to get that perfect world. And I think that's why it's been taking so long, right? We've been hearing forever, Pac-12 media deals coming, Pac-12 media deals coming. Well, now they're down to 10 teams and they don't have a media deal. So I think everybody knows it as much as we do now. There's really not much more to be said.
All right. You also had a little piece on the ACC, and Jim Phillips talking about, the CW and adding games with that network, and also talking about just trying to, maintain a strong third behind the SEC and the Big Ten, obviously, when it comes to TV deals. What kind of stood out to you as far as his remarks on the state of the conference? Obviously, they've had their own little, public a very minor spat where there's clearly some schools that feel like they want a little bit more, and this is a very long-term contract that in hindsight is way too long. But what did you make of Jim Phillips' comments about the ACC and their current setup?
Yeah, I think he was being optimistic, which you're going to do as a conference commissioner, right? Especially when you're in such a spotlight of everybody knows, like you're saying, the ACC is so far behind the SEC and Big Ten. And I mean, the ACC's its contract goes to 2036. The Big Ten's contract that's paying them over $1 billion a year runs out in 2030, and they're going to be able to sign a bigger deal then. So it's a mess for the ACC. I know they're trying to figure it out. But like he said today, you can't just get ESPN to instantly give you more money. He referenced the layoffs at ESPN and the things that they're going through, and how, they have financial commitments to make too. So they're really in a pickle. And I think he's trying to be optimistic, but it doesn't look like a lot more revenue is going to be coming in, and that's why they're dispersing it in different ways, right? That's why in 2024, the teams that maybe make a college football playoff or perform better in a bowl game are going to get paid a little bit more than the teams that don't. So at least some of those schools at the top of the league can get a little bit more padding and maybe not have their sights set on going to a Big Ten or SEC if and when more realignment happens.
He did say one thing that I've been thinking about, and he said that their ESPN relationship is great, and that they and ESPN continue to find ways to make more revenue. But why would ESPN try to find a way to pay them more money if they don't have to?
And that's a great question, right? How is ESPN gonna pay them more money? Well, if there's more games, I guess, right, then they could pay them. If there was more schools coming in that would broaden the conference portfolio. I don't know who the ACC is going to be adding right now. I think they're more likely targets to get poached. So they're being creative, right? He says there's some things going on behind closed doors that they can't talk about right now. I don't know. Maybe they're going to roll out, a more special subset of games, whether that's college basketball games, or they're kind of limited in what they can do for football games. But I know ESPN wants to keep building out ESPN Plus, so maybe they'll agree to move even more games to streaming for ESPN for a higher fee. There's a lot of different ways that they could get into it, but like you said, ESPN's got to agree to this, because they could sit there and do nothing right now and just pay their $240 million a year for the rights to the ACC games.
David Rumsey, Front Office Sports. David, great stuff. Let's have you on again sometime soon. Absolutely, really interested. And we talk a lot of sports media here. It's become, we are now, I wouldn't say experts, but I think strong novices after all we've had to do the last year.
It's part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Absolutely. David Rumsey, Front Office Sports. Thanks for joining us, David. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys.